Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this event called Know Your Rights, provided to you by the city of SeaTac. And what we are trying to cover here today is immigration, executive orders, and community conversations, because there's a lot of fear going on about immigration and how things are going. It is facilitated by me. My name is Jamilo, and I am the founder of AccentSOM. And this, as I mentioned earlier, it's brought to you by the city of SeaTac. So welcome to the event. This is a publicly funded project that's, as I said, put together by the city of SeaTac for its constituencies that are affected by the new administration and all that is going on. And my name is Jamilo Gurhan. I am the founder of AccentSOM Somali advocacy media company based out of Ohio. I have over a decade of experience in national and grassroots immigration response. And I just want to clarify one thing more than anything else. I'm not a lawyer. Yes, I have worked in the legal system in an indirect way without representing clients, because I never ever want to misquote or misrepresent myself. And first of all, that's illegal. And secondly, that's definitely goes against my own integrity and my own standard personally. So this is a presentation, and it is the answer question, like it is answering what's going on with the immigration system. It is a response coming from cities, different cities all over the U.S. And so this is a SeaTac's version of this. And who is this for? This is this Know Your Rights training is for all immigrants, refugees, and mixed status families in SeaTac and beyond. So this might be held here in SeaTac, but this Know Your Rights can be utilized anywhere in the U.S. and can be used by any family that have mixed status and paperwork or immigration. So let's say the parents are undocumented, but the child might not be. So that kind of gets tricky, and it reflects legal updates, real-world risks, and planning tools. So you have to be prepared. That's what I believe in. And also, there's a lot happening. Things are changing by the hour, by the day. Before, things used to come out, and you had a time to react, a time to prepare. So this presentation put together by the city of SeaTac is a response to that. So why does it matter? Why is the city and we are here today? Because executive orders are shifting fast. As I said, things used to take time, and they used to have a grace period. Things come out. Misinformation is everywhere. There's a lot of fear. Also, fear is high, especially for asylum seekers, TBS holders, and undocumented families. So there's a lot of headlines. Yes, a lot of it is true, but also a whole lot of it is doesn't have a context, is taken out of a context, coming back to that word again, because something happens, one thing, and then people hear a portion of it, then the other portion will touch it. But the thing is, those headlines have a real life consequence. Those headlines touch people. Those headlines affect their lives in real time. So it's not what it could be, what it should be, or what it can be. It is what is happening right now, what is going on right now. So today, today is all about, people need to understand what is changing, because there's a lot is changing. Also know your rights, because everyone has rights in real life situations, because things are happening really, really, really fast. Also, this event is put together so people can know where to get resources. This will be posted online, and people can go back to it anytime they are scared or they want to verify something and they want to understand if this is misinformation or this is correct. yes, it will be updated, or maybe it will change because things are changing fast. But this will be a document that people can come back to, can look back and use it as a reference. It will be available and people can ask questions in a safe space. What we will cover today, what we're going to cover is executive orders and national policy shifts, real encounters with ICE, CPP, Border Protection Agency, and the police themselves. Because before, all of those lived in different umbrellas and in different places. Also, this is for emergency planning for families, legal tools for temporary protected status and asylum seekers or people who already have an asylum status. And it's also a public charge. A public charge is when people have documents. Can they utilize, federally funded programs also? That's what public charge is. We also we have a table over there where people can check scripts, red cards to use, that they can keep it on their pocket, a checklist, what is available, what they have, where to find it, and also community, legal, and health resources. That's, as I mentioned earlier and a couple of times before, this is program was put together by the city of SeaTac. Ground rules. So this is recorded, and that this is where many of you will meet me and see the work after the fact. And it is a safe and a judgment-free space. Questions are welcome anytime. So if somebody has a question, they don't have to wait till the end of it. And so what we're going to cover at the first portion of this presentation is federal actions and immigration policy changes in January to April. I just want people to understand the enormity of this, because that's a quarter. That's not a couple of years. That's not a whole administration. In the past quarter, things have changed from the immigration policies, and a lot have happened. That did not happen almost close to a decade or more. So the past quarter, a lot has changed. So this is what this presentation itself will cover. So what is an executive order? Because people, they kind of shorten it. Sometimes they will say EO, and it's not something, unless you are taking a history class or you are a civic-minded person like I am, or a history nerd, who pays attention to these things. A lot of us know these things, but we forgot after high school, or we don't pay attention to them all the time. So executive order, by definition, is a directive from the president that tells federal agencies how to interpret or enforce the law. That's a directive that the president signs. It doesn't require a congressional, approval. So remember, American government has 3 different branches: executive, congressional, and the court system. So it doesn't require an oversight. The president can put together something, and he can give a guide to the, federal agencies. So what happens after, it is signed? It is published in the Federal Register. That's where all of the federals go. Federal agencies release internal memos and guidance. How do you use this? How do you interpret it? Because, as I said, a lot is changing. So something that might have been relevant yesterday might not be today. Or something that people thought about, it was written in stone, might not be anymore. Things are changing and they are shifting on a weekly, daily, sometimes hourly basis. And local and state partners have to adjust and, be compliant with it, because it's coming from the federal government. So key agencies involved, sometimes people hear the DHS, and it's kind of a, sure, but many people don't know, who don't deal with it. So that's the Department of Homeland Security, USCIS. Those are the people, when someone says, I have a green card, or they want to apply citizenship, or they want to apply any type of immigration-related benefit, comes from USCIS. And also ICE, which is the Interior Enforcement and Deportations Agency, and CPP, also the border agency. If you ever came back to the US, those people who get your passport, or if you're not a passport, whatever passport you're holding, and they go through your paperwork, also DOJ, Department of Justice, and also immigration court is a bit different than any other court. It's different from county, small cities, or federal. They go, they don't fall under their normal federal courts or other courts. They fall under the office right there. It's called EOIR. So they kind of is structured in a different type of way. So major executive orders were issued as the president, promised. He promised he's going to change the landscape of the immigration system in the U.S., and that he did. He did keep that promise. That was not, a lot of people did not take it as seriously as it should be, or what it is, or what it could be. It is what it is right now, right here. It's happening, and it is changing lives in real time. So a lot of, I don't know if you remember, there were 10 executive orders that were signed in January 2025. So the first one that mainly pertains to immigration, the executive order for 14159 is called the National Alien Registration Order. It requires anyone under and above the age of 14 who is staying longer than 30 days to register with the Department of Homeland Security. So that was not, yes, in a way, was something that was always expected to happen. It didn't have, an executive order that specifically said you need to register, because when people do enter the U.S. in a lot of different ways, they don't just come through the expected ways, and now it's the law. You have to register if you are the above age of 14. Also, it puts a new burden on the parents who have children under the age of 14 if they need to register their children. Also, the other one is 14160, Interior Security and Enforcement Directive. What it does is it expands ICE's presence in sanctuary cities. Hello, Seattle. Hello, Washington State, because these are, sanctuary places. And mainly a lot of times people say that executive order was meant for places like this. And it also authorizes local police partnership via the 287G. One example that we can use right now is the state of Florida. The state of Florida, uses their, enforcement to help and work with ICE. And also it restores, workplace rates. So those kind of did not happen for a long, long time. Also, the next one is Executive Order 14161. It expedited removal and expansion memo. So before America, one of the things at the foundations of the American government or the American people or the country, you can say, is due process. When something said, you allege something and you say this happened, then the due process happens. Then you go to court. If something gets, proved, then you go through the process. And that kind of is dwindling down when it comes to the immigration. If you say it doesn't exist, that would be a flat out lie, because that's not true. But it is dwindling down and it's changing. So this executive order made sure of that. It expands, expedited removal to anyone unable to prove presence of the past 2 years. More than 2 years, you have to prove that. And it also applies nationwide. Before, expedited removal usually were used at the southern border, like Texas. So now, if you do not live within 100-mile radius, it still applies. So let's say middle of Kansas, if you live there, this applies now. Before, it did not. And also Executive Order 14162, border processing suspension, where people enter the U.S., and then they were able to apply things that is, that's what this executive order for. It limits asylum access at land ports of entry. People before had different ways of applying or how the process worked. It limits that. It creates a lot of limitations. It also ends automatic parole release for arriving families. It eliminates that. The Executive Order 14163, Refugee Program Pause and Vetting Review. So it suspends all new refugee admission until vetting reform is finalized. So that is in quotation because vetting happened before. Vetting is not new. Vetting used to happen all the time, and it will, as I said before, it's a multi-agency, multi-faceted, sometimes multi-year process, and it takes a really, really, really long time. This slows the processing of cases referred from the UNHCR, the refugee agency. So the ongoing cases that people heard about a lot is the Mahmoud Khalil case, the Palestinian guy who was at the Columbia University, got arrested, then the government put him in the middle of nowhere, then his case is a very, very, very high profile case. And that's the kind of case the government will use or might use to set a precedent, say, and that's why it's a very high profile case. It's supposed to make a public splash. It's supposed to grab headlines, and that's exactly what this program is doing. Also, when it was like the deportations under Alien Enemies Act, that's the kind of act that was not used till like a long time ago, for a long, long time. That's the thing that the government used to use, during war. That's what that is meant for. And also, I don't know, that viral video, that student from Tufts University, she's a Turkish lady who was a PhD student, and she had a valid visa, and she was going somewhere, and people kind of come to her, and then she gets grabbed from the middle of the street, looking like it was, a kidnapping type of thing. You don't expect the government, especially the federal government, to have moves like that. So all of those are ongoing cases right now. So what we're going to talk about next is rights during enforcement and encounters. So a lot of times people get stopped and ICE shows up in a lot of places they have not in years and for a long, long time. So if ICE comes to your house, do not open. Do not open the door unless they show a judicial warrant. So there are two different warrants. There is a judicial warrant, also an administrative one. Judicial warrant requires a judge's signature, and the government has to show the judge something, then the judge signs that, and that's what judicial warrant is, or probable cause. That's what actually it's called. And then you can ask them through your window, ask to see through a window or under the door. Remain silent and do not sign anything. And I always tell people, don't sign anything you don't understand. And that does not apply just a language issue, because legal papers or legal paperwork are very complicated, very hard to interpret or read. And people, a lot of people, everyday people don't understand it. I've been doing this work for over 10 years, and a lot of times some certain things kind of come out, and it's very hard for me to understand it and contextualize it. And then until I go back and do research, then I kind of connect the dots. So imagine if a language is a problem. Imagine if something you don't understand, or if you're an everyday American, like legal paperwork is very difficult. If you are stopped on the street or at work, ask, am I free to go? Can I leave? Because you always can ask that, or if not, say, I want to remain silent and I want a lawyer. You can always ask that. And then as a bystander. And the whole, when the Black movement, Black Lives Matter movement came out in 2020, this is where it happened. It was a bystander in Minneapolis, George Floyd, when it was happening, a girl recorded it. And it started a whole thing, and bystander matters a lot, and it's part of the American fabric, and it matters, it's very, very important. So you can film, but know your boundaries. Don't be on their face, don't cross boundaries. In public spaces, streets, sidewalks, courthouse, you have the right to record ICE or police actions as long as you don't interfere. Because you can be judged, be charged with that. They can say that they interfered with police work, government work, and that the government can slap you with that charge, and then you have to answer for that. So please don't interfere with the police's work. Stay safe, a safe distance away, and don't block agents' movement. Do not block agents at the movement. That also comes back to their interference. Use your phone timestamp feature to narrate the time and location. So always write down, because things can go back to, but time matters a lot. You can observe and document. Write down agent badge numbers, vehicle plates, time, place, and what was said. Because we all have a working memory. We tend to forget things. We tend to go back to them. So please record and write it down, so it can be verifiable, and then you can go back to it. Share notes with the person's lawyer or trusted community group, people who advocate for the person. Share those information with them, because if you share the agent, the lawyer can use that information to track down if the person is taken into custody, and then they are taken away. They can use that information, because the federal government is huge, and they can put in the person in a lot of different places, but every agent has a particular badge number that's very unique to them. If possible, get contact info from witnesses or family nearby, people who are standing over there. Get their information. At the airport, immigration can question whether you have lawful immigration status. And when I say immigration, what I mean here is, Border Protection Agency. They can ask you that. That's actually the actual job title. They're supposed to ask you that. Whether you are admissible to the United States of America, you're admissible or inadmissible. They can ask you that. At the airport, you can be searched. Other places, warrant is needed, or some other legal, avenues. But at the airport, they can search you. Customs and Border Protection do not need a warrant to search your belongings at the airport. If you are a citizen, you must only establish identity and citizenship. Also, as a permanent resident, this is where a lot have happened. And it happened before at the first Trump era, when people were signing that form, and they were signing away or revoking their own legal status without even realizing it, without knowing. So you must only establish identity and legal residence. You can be detained and placed under removal proceedings. Please do not sign Form an I-407. Electronic devices, even for American citizens, can be confiscated. So officers might ask for passwords. If you are a citizen, you do not have to supply it. But I always tell people, have the policy of not using your body, like your facial recognition or your biometrics, to open your devices. Even if you're not, an immigrant yourself, but because when you are coming through the border, when you are coming through the airport and you have to go through, a protection agency agencies, chaos, and they have to ask you that, just use that. That's a good, thing to have. If your device is confiscated, get a receipt, write down the officer's name and agency, because they can take away your devices too. If stopped while driving, present ID, insurance, and registration. You can refuse refuse consent to search. You can say, I do not consent for you to search my property and vehicle. You might remain silent and ask for legal counsel. You can ask for that. But there's also those viral videos. We will be remiss if we do not address that, where someone is sitting and down, and the government is using force to enter that person's car. So as I said, a lot has changed since this administration came into office. So all of those things are happening. So the other thing, that's why this slide is kind of empty, that I wanted to mention here is executive branch versus the courts, which is the justice system. In America, the government has 3 branches. So one, the executive orders come out, it's litigated. It goes to court. Then they say, is this legal? Is this applicable? Does this go under the Constitution? Is this allowed? But what the new government is doing right now is, they kind of are not listening to the government, the courts. Not kind of, they're actually not listening in a lot of cases. Let me just give you an example. That the, guy who was deported, took him to El Salvador, who actually had a legal status, and the court said, bring him back. They did not bring him back, and they are defying the court order. So there's a lot of power grab, a lot of issues going on between the executive branch and the courts. And this government, before, when the court, brought an order out, it used to stop other government agencies. The court said, because that's what the checks and balances are for. That's what the whole American, Constitution stands for, is the checks and balances. This takes that out of the, question that, it kind of rocks the boat. Not kind, it actually rocks the boat. It questions a lot of the foundational American systems, because that's the way it's supposed to work, checks and balances. An emergency family plan is something I will just go through. This one is very easy. It's what to prepare. An emergency folder. We have a checklist, and it will be available online too, where you can go through all your documents, and you can have copies of all IDs, power of attorneys, and legal forms. If you have a power of attorney, please make it available, put it in a folder, and don't put the folder or the paperwork somewhere nobody can find but you. Put it in a place that your 5 or 10-year-old, if you tell them the documents is right there, they can just go and grab it. Put information in an accessible place to your family and you. Family contact, strategy, emergency contacts, code words, or you can use document location notes. As I said before, if you put your paperwork in a place that we tend to put our legal documents in hidden places for a good reason, but if you put them away in a place they cannot be easily found, it's kind of hard to find them. So please practice that. And now we're going to talk about asylum, TPS, and public charge. What those are, as an asylee, you have a legal right to request protection based on, fear of prosecution, must apply within a year of entry. Work permits available after 150 days after the application was submitted to the court. Remember when I said immigration courts are different? Immigration courts go under a different umbrella than the normal, the way other federal government, federal courts are set. So this kind of is stagnant right now. Yes, asylum cases were always rejected. They were denied. That's not new. But the way the system is set up, in a way, that's kind of the government is kind of making it a revolving door. The one that you have to go here, you can never exit it in a way. It's a lot more difficult than it used to be. Temporary protected status, TPS, the executive order came out 14164. So it brought TPS under the lens of a national security. So when something goes under the national security, and it kind of took it out, not directly, but it hinted like it's gonna take it out of the humanitarian out of it. So that, it didn't take out of it all the way, but when something is placed under the national security umbrella, that's a very, very big umbrella. That is a very tricky umbrella. I'm not saying the country does not need protection. Of course we need protection. That's what Homeland Security is for. That's why we have different government agencies. But when something or a law or executive order is written in a way, it broadens the reach of that executive order. So this executive order restructured how TPS is extended, terminated, and redesignated, shifting decisions away from humanitarian review toward a national security criteria, which is a very, very, very broad umbrella. Automatic TPS termination review, so the government or the DHS agents can review it and then automatically, terminate it. All countries with TPS now go under quarterly security risk reviews. Before, it used to be a lot longer than that. DHS now has the authority to terminate TPS without congressional notifications. Before, as I said, the government has 3 branches and they balance each other. So a lot of the executive orders that are coming out of the Trump White House take, agency or authority out of the other government agencies. Non-UTBS designation will be accepted during the 2025-2026 review cycle. Public charge is when someone wants to apply or sponsor their own family. Will that person be a public charge? Will that person be someone who can sustain themselves, not rely on the government? And a lot of times people who came here as refugees, usually it's kind of hard for them to get used to the system. It takes them a long time to integrate, do some type of thing. So this is what this rule pertains to. So we're going to say it's safe to use WIC, school meals, shelter, vaccines, risk factors, long-term cash, aid, institutionalized care like rehab. Always consult legal aid if unsure. So always consult with the lawyer, either paid or legal aid. And the last part of it will be tools for protection and organizing. So this thing came out what's called the red card script. Red card is something small that you can put it laminated, put it in your pocket. So I do not wish to answer questions, and I request a lawyer. And a lot of different nonprofits and foundations did an Spanish translation of this card. And usually it has two sides. And one of them says in English, the other one says in other language. The person understands Spanish being the second language people use in this country. Tips for community organizing and safety. Avoid posting personal case info online. Like identifiable information should be the rule of thumb. People should not post those with or without the immigration court or the system looking over your shoulder. That should be something everyone practices, not identifiable information. Yes, you can be talkative, we all use social media, but don't put your personal information out there, because when something is in some social media, it's permanent. A lot of times you can delete it, you can try, but when something is online, is permanent in today's world. Do not name minors publicly. Do not name kids, especially those who are in cases. Know your level of risk before protesting. So whenever you're about to go to a protest, think about the risks and always assess that in that lens. And these are community resources and legal help that are available in CTAG, Washington State. And so I'm not going to go through them, all of them. But I want to say the EOIR case information, which is where the agency that goes, the cases go under information, it's available online. As detainees and locator, all of that will be added to the end of the PDF or the PowerPoint, however it's posted online. Key takeaways is executive orders are happening fast and they are affecting families in real time. It's not what it could be or what it will be tomorrow. It is what it is today, what's happening today. So prepare documents. Be ready to have documents available, readily available, something your children can find, not hidden under a rock. Everyone has rights, even if undocumented. We are all human beings, whether we have legal status, this or that. We all have rights under the law. Yes, different rights, different, extent, different places, but we all have rights as humans. So what do you take home? We have a red card, emergency filing documents, power of attorney forms, those might not be available later on, and a legal aid directory. So for me, what I want to say at the end is we're not just surviving, we are preparing and protecting each other. So because it's not all about just survival anymore, it's about protection. Because if you plan and prepare, it's much easier being hit that way than if you are hit with something you are not aware of. And this whole presentation was all about that. Yes, the government is spending publicly funded money that way, but because it might help one person or two people, and this is protection and preparation. Always follow the law. Always, do not break the law. Don't lie to the government. And remember, the police can lie to you. That's, police can lie to you to extract information from you, but do not lie to them. So thank you. I appreciate it.